Hello my friends. Alright, these are the supplies you will need. I've got a piece of watercolor paper. This is 9 by 12. You will need a standard regular pencil. I've got a ultra fine point Sharpie. That is our smaller tipped Sharpie. You will need a paintbrush. This is a number 8 paintbrush. You will need a tray of watercolors. This is our 8 color tray of watercolors. You will need a little paint bucket, a paint rag or paper towel, and last but not least, an old toothbrush. All right, if we are ready, let's get started. All right, so we're going to do our jellyfish. I'm going to use my pencil. I'm going to go vertical up and down with my paper. I'm going to find the center. I'm going to put a little dot just to find the center of my paper. Now what I want to do is I want to draw sort of the head of our jellyfish, and using that dot as sort of a reference, center point reference, I'm going to draw, this will be like the bottom part of my jellyfish, and then it's the head or the body of the jellyfish kind of goes up and around, kind of like a big mushroom shape. All right, so we're just using the pencil as a guide. We're not going to draw all the details with our pencil. All right, and then again, using my pencil, I'm going to kind of draw kind of the direction that all the tendrils of our jellyfish are going to go. And that's all I'm going to do with my pencil. That's all I need. I'm just going to use this as sort of a guide in composition. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to use my Sharpie. Again, this is our ultra fine point, that's our skinny point Sharpie. And I'm just going to start almost kind of randomly adding a lot of design shapes. We're not drawing a realistic looking jellyfish. This has a lot of little design elements to it. So I'm going to start here at the bottom. And I'm just going to start and add some little curly cues. I kind of go like this, using that pencil line as kind of a guide. And I'm kind of alternating. Some turn this way, some turn that way. So they're all kind of staggered. They're not perfect. The idea is that you just kind of want to just let things happen. Don't plan it out too much. Don't spend a lot of time thinking about what it is that you're doing with your jellyfish. All right, let's work on our jellyfish as the head of our jellyfish. I'm going to start up here at the top, and I'm going to follow my curve, but I'm going to do a little wobbly line. So it's going to kind of wobble a little bit so that it's not perfect. And do the same thing on the other side, kind of wobble it around. Right? So it's not a perfect curve, and then from that I can start adding some little design pieces here. Maybe I'll put a little twisty curls here. Just like that. And then maybe on the other side we'll do maybe another little wobbly line that kind of follows along. Just a little design element. All right, let's go here. So again, I'm just kind of adding just sort of random design elements here. Let me do something kind of goes like this. Kind of a little crescent moon shape. Now I have some design ideas that you can download and use as reference. All right, let's go back and continue on. So I'm just going to add some more design elements here. Again, I'm not thinking about it too much. Just kind of having fun creating different little shapes and designs. There's no wrong way in doing this. None of them really make any sense. And that's okay. right? So we're just going to go ahead and just add different pieces here. And then, you know, we'll try and tie them together in different ways. Again, the whole idea of this is to just sort of let go. Let things happen in sort of an organic way. Like I said, things don't have to make any sense. You know, it's just letting things go and just let it happen. You get the idea of what we're doing? Just letting things go. Just let it happen. Doing little dots. It's always kind of a fun way to add a little extra texture. And as you can see, I'm just kind of moving around. Adding different little design elements here, kind of maybe tying some of them together with each other. You know, it's just kind of seeing, you know, what works. Sometimes things happen that you're not planning on, which is fine. There's no, like I said, there's no set wrong or right to this. But we're adding just a lot of different little design elements. And you're just kind of making them up as we go along. Just like so. And I'm just filling up space. When you think you got enough, then you can move on. So I'm just going to add some little dots here and little circles just to kind of fill in some of these little spaces here and there. There we go. All right, so I'm kind of happy with that. I can always go back and add a little more if I want to. Now we can move down to the little tendrils. So we've got our little pencil line. It just gives us a direction as to how we want it to move. So we're not going to draw them straight down. Doing it this way gives our jellyfish a little life and a little movement in a very simple way. All right, so I'm gonna do the first one, and I'm gonna do a very simple one. It's just gonna kind of go like this, and then maybe we'll put a little curl on the end with some dots in it. All right, so that's just gonna get me started. So I want to kind of cluster them all from the center, and everything's gonna kind of come off from there, and go like this and up. Maybe there's some design inside. So we see how things are kind of going to start to move around. So maybe there's a little wiggly line. And maybe do a double wiggle. So we're seeing how now it's all starting to come together. And again, we're just going to keep doing crazy shapes that are going to loosely follow that first pencil line that we drew, just to give us a direction to go. Again, I'm just kind of making things up as I go along, which is exactly what we want to do. You just want to just get creative and have some fun with these designs. So the fun part is that you're using a Sharpie that you can't erase. So whatever you do is going to stay. So, don't worry if you think you've made a mistake. Don't worry about it. It's all going to go, it's all going to work in one way or another. We're going to do a couple of kind of shoot off to the side. So we're going to go around, and then maybe we'll do some circles in here. All right, so coming together. All right, I'm really liking how it's coming out so far. So let's do one of these that kind of goes off this way. Maybe there's another one that kind of goes. But you see how we're utilizing a lot of different kind of random shapes. Like so. All right, let's see, what can we do inside here? Let's do maybe some circles. I like doing little dots and circles. It kind of looks like, maybe there's like some little eggs in there or something. Who knows? Doesn't really matter. All right, so let's do another just kind of a crazy shape. So it's all kind of coming together. Maybe there's a little offshoot here. Little curly cues here. All right. We're getting the idea, aren't we? Let's add some little bubbles here, maybe. Maybe there's a couple little tendrils that kind of come off here. Maybe there's some over on this side. But we've got that main head and then our body coming down with all these different shapes. Maybe I want to extend this one down a little bit. But you see the flow? We get this flow going, right? So we have a little bit of, we feel like we've got some motion going on here. So we've got a little space in here, maybe. We can put something. We're keeping that flow. All right. So one of the hardest things is to reach a point where you feel like maybe you've done enough, that you don't want to maybe overdo it and do too much. All right, let's do maybe one little one here. All right. I'm kind of liking this, so maybe we can call this guy close to done. And I'm just going to add some little darker areas here just to give a little sort of a little black and white contrast to get a little bit of, so we see a little something hidden in there. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. Just give that one. We keep extending this one. Oh, he's going to have a long, a long tendril. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So that didn't take long. So again, I just used a lot of different design elements. Like I said, it's not a realistic looking jellyfish. So now comes the fun part. So let's bring in our watercolors. We're going to shift this over just a little bit. Let's bring our water in. I'm going to use my brush. Now the fun part with this is I don't want it really dark, and I'm not going to paint all the details. I want the watercolor to really just kind of flow and spread and be very transparent. All right, let's go ahead. I'm going to grab some blue. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking my brush and I'm swirling around in circles, just like this, and I'm bringing some over into my palette or the lid right there. So I'm not smashing my brush, I'm not scooping, I'm just going around and around and then bringing the paint over here. So I'm going to get a little bit of water. I want to thin this down. So I want a nice little transparent. So if you want to, you can use a little scrap piece of paper and kind of test it. I like that. So I'm just going to go in and just kind of blot it around. So we've got all our designs. I'm not going to worry about following them exactly. I just want to lay in some color. I'm not following any really, pattern. Like, I'm not meticulously coloring this in. I'm just letting the paint kind of go wherever it wants. Just kind of smooshing it around here and there. And the fact that the color is very light and transparent lets all those ink designs show through. And if you want a little bit of a darker blue, you grab a little bit of that paint straight from the palette in there. There you go. I'm going to rinse off. Let's get it a little green. You can use any colors that you want. I'm just using these. And again, like I said, I don't want to concern myself with coloring, painting in every square inch, right? So I'm just kind of randomly adding colors here and there. All right, let's do a little purple. A little purple and some water. And then we can start adding in different colors. So if you do a little bit of wet into wet, you get some sort of bleed effects. So we're getting some really neat sort of watercolor effects here and there. And again, I'm not worrying about coloring in every square inch, right? Let's do a little yellow. Again, just little spots. Doesn't need to be all over. Just a little bit here and there. It's one of those things, a little bit goes a long way. So we can do a little red. But you can see how I'm not putting a lot of thinking into this. I don't want to go, ooh, I don't want to think about it. I'm just letting these colors happen. Just letting things just sort of organically happen. All right. There we go. All right. All right, so there's spots where you want to add a little extra. Maybe we need a little something here. Definitely add a little flourishes here and there. All right, I'm happy with that. All right, so I'm just going to add just a little bit here and there, just to pop a little extra color in. All right, okay, like I said, you got to learn to know when to stop. All right, so now comes the fun part. So I've got all these paint colors here. I'm just going to take those and kind of mix them all together. Add a little extra blue. Throw a little bit of water in there. All right. Here we go. Take your toothbrush. So if you want to practice this before you do it, the way you hold a toothbrush, depending, I'm right-handed, so I'm going to hold it here. So I want my bristles pointed towards, not away from you. You want it in towards your finger. So you're going to hold it with your thumb and your other fingers, and you're going to use your index finger to rake across the bristles this way. Right? So your paint's going to shoot that way, and if you're left-handed, you're going to do it with your left hand and do this. All right? So if you want to, you can move this to the side. You can bring in a little piece of scratch paper, get a little paint. So you want to point your brush towards your artwork and then just give it a little whack like that. Easy as pie. I'm going to throw a little more color here, a little more paint. This works best with a little extra water added. All right, so get my brush, kind of work it around, and then I'm going to point this at my artwork, right? And then give it a flick. Boom. And the fun part is just kind of randomly kind of hitting your jellyfish with some of this blue, the watercolor. There you go. It's also a good point. Another one of these points is knowing when to stop, because it's easy to fill the whole thing. You just kind of want to just add a little bit of spice here and there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that off, and I got watercolor on my fingers. All right, let's move all this out of the way. We're done. So if you look really close, we can see all these really fun spatter marks. Let's go ahead. I'm going to grab my Sharpie down here at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and sign this right here. And there we go. That is our watercolor jellyfish.